It was a radiant and lively morning at Ano International Airport, the air buzzing with energy as travelers hustled through the terminals, eager to catch their flights. The rhythmic announcements echoed overhead, blending seamlessly with the steady hum of rolling suitcases and the occasional laughter from excited vacationers. Amid this vibrant scene, Marie strode purposefully through the gate area, her crisp navy blue uniform exuding professionalism. Her blazer was impeccably pressed, and the golden insignia on her lapel shimmered under the morning light, a testament to her years of dedication. She paused briefly to assist passengers with their pre-flight questions, her warm demeanor setting them at ease. Marie wasn't just another face in the crowd. She had dedicated over a decade to the airline, starting her journey as a flight attendant and climbing the ranks through sheer determination and grace. Now, as the CEO, she commanded a quiet yet commanding presence within the company. Though her current role kept her primarily behind the scenes, she cherished opportunities to don her old uniform and reconnect with the crew and passengers. Today was one such occasion, and her approachable smile radiated a sense of assurance that resonated with everyone she met. As she moved through the bustling boarding area, her attention was momentarily caught by a group of affluent travelers gathered near the VIP lounge. Their conversations carried a hint of disdain, their voices cutting through the general airport chatter. "Did you see that flight attendant?" one of them sneered, their tone dripping with condescension. "So eager to please." Another chimed in with a chuckle, "Must be desperate for tips." Marie's sharp ears caught the remarks, but she chose not to react. Years of experience had taught her to navigate such moments with poise. Her focus remained on ensuring a seamless travel experience for all passengers, regardless of their behavior or attitudes. She knew that grace under pressure was a hallmark of true leadership. Before long, the group of wealthy passengers boarded the flight, their entitled demeanor evident as they dismissed the cabin crew's instructions with an air of superiority. Their demands were immediate and incessant, their disregard for common courtesy apparent. As the lead flight attendant for the day, Marie kept a vigilant eye on them, determined to ensure their behavior didn't disrupt the experience for others. The situation escalated shortly after takeoff. One of the men, a middle-aged individual sporting an ostentatious watch that gleamed under the cabin lights, snapped his fingers sharply to summon a young crew member. "Hey you," he called out, his voice cutting through the serene atmosphere of the cabin. "Tell your supervisor I need more ice for my champagne."
"Now?"
His tone was dismissive, and his gaze never lifted from his drink. Marie, ever composed, stepped forward immediately. "Good afternoon, sir. Is there anything I can assist you with?" she asked, her voice calm and professional. The man's eyes scanned her from head to toe, his lip curling in subtle disdain. "Yeah," he scoffed. "Get me someone who actually speaks proper English." His companions erupted in laughter, their amusement at his remark evident. The young crew member behind Marie looked visibly flustered, but Marie's reassuring hand on her arm steadied her. Turning back to the man, she maintained her poise. "Of course, sir," she responded smoothly, her tone unwavering. "Let me handle that for you." As she walked away to fetch the ice, she overheard another passenger from the group mutter, "What do you expect from a Filipina flight attendant? They're all the same, just here to serve." Marie clenched her jaw, her step steady despite the anger simmering beneath her calm exterior. She reminded herself that her actions, not her words, would define the moment. The flight continued, the aircraft's gentle hum offering a stark contrast to the disruptive behavior of the wealthy group in business class. Most passengers were quietly enjoying their meals, scrolling through their devices, or gazing out of the windows at the endless expanse of blue sky. However, the group's antics continued unabated. "Hey, stewardess," one of the men called out again, his voice loud enough to draw uncomfortable glances from nearby passengers. He snapped his fingers arrogantly, leaning back in his seat. Marie approached him with her usual grace. "Yes, sir," she said, her tone calm. "How can I assist you?" The man gestured dismissively toward his tray. "This chicken is dry. Don't you have anything better? Or is this the best you people can manage?" His words dripped with disdain, and the phrase, "you people," hung in the air like an unpleasant echo. Marie's expression remained neutral, though a flicker of irritation was visible in the eyes of a nearby passenger who had overheard the exchange. "I'm sorry to hear that, sir," Marie replied, her voice steady and composed. "Let me see how we can improve your dining experience." Another member of the group, a woman adorned in designer attire, chimed in with a dramatic sigh. "And can you tell whoever designed this plane to upgrade these seats? They're not nearly as luxurious as I expected." She leaned back with exaggerated disapproval. "Oh, wait," she added with a smirk. "Do you even understand what I'm saying, dear?" Her companions burst into laughter, their mocking tone grating against the otherwise tranquil cabin. Marie's hands remained clasped neatly in front of her as she responded. "I assure you, ma'am, we value all passenger feedback," she said, her tone polite but firm. "Is there anything else you need assistance with?" The woman rolled her eyes, theatrically. "Just don't mess up my order like last time," she said dismissively. Marie turned and walked away, her focus resolute. While their words stung, she knew that the true test of character lay in how one responded to adversity. Little did the group know, this flight would soon offer them a lesson they would never forget, a reminder that respect and kindness transcend wealth and status. This is a compelling and vivid narrative with a strong emotional arc. The transformation of the rude group's arrogance into humility, combined with Marie's professional composure, makes for an impactful story. Here's a polished version with improved flow, structure, and grammar. The murmurs of mocking continued behind Marie. "Why do they even hire these people?" one of the men sneered. "Cheap labor, I guess," another replied. Unbeknownst to the group, other passengers were beginning to notice their behavior. A middle-aged couple in the row behind them exchanged uncomfortable glances, while a young man across the aisle discreetly recorded the scene on his phone. In the galley, Marie took a moment to collect herself. She wasn't new to rude passengers, but something about their condescension struck a chord. Still, she reminded herself of a lesson learned early in her career. Composure was power. "Are you okay, ma'am?" one of the junior attendants asked hesitantly. Marie smiled reassuringly. "I'm fine. Let's focus on making sure all passengers are cared for." Her calm demeanor didn't waver, but deep down, she sensed that the group's arrogance might soon lead to an important lesson, one fate seemed to have perfectly orchestrated. The flight had reached cruising altitude, and most passengers were quietly immersed in their activities. The cabin lights dimmed slightly as the crew prepared for a calm stretch of the journey. Marie was making her rounds, ensuring every passenger's needs were met, when a loud thud shattered the quiet. From the business class cabin, a man, one of the rude group, distinguished by his flashy watch, had collapsed in the aisle. His friends sprang up in panic. "Somebody help," one of them yelled. "He's not breathing." The cabin erupted into chaos as passengers craned their necks to see what had happened. The attendants sprang into action, but Marie was the first to reach him. She knelt beside the man, her voice calm and authoritative. "Sir, can you hear me?" she said, gently patting his shoulder. His face was pale, and beads of sweat dotted his forehead. One of his companions, panicked, barked, "Do something. Don't just sit there." Marie ignored the outburst and quickly assessed the situation. She checked his pulse and noted his shallow breathing. Years of training had prepared her for this moment. "Call for medical assistance on board and retrieve the first aid kit," she instructed one of the junior attendants. Then she turned to the group. "Is he on any medication? Does he have any medical conditions we should know about?" The group exchanged frantic looks. Their earlier arrogance had dissolved into fear. I don't know," one stammered. "He's never mentioned anything like this." The tension in the cabin was thick as Marie worked swiftly. Passengers whispered among themselves, many awed by how composed she remained. Moments later, an oxygen mask was secured over the man's face, and Marie carefully adjusted the flow. Another attendant arrived with the first aid kit, but Marie already seemed in full control. "We need to keep him stable until we can determine his condition," she said. Suddenly, a passenger from economy class stepped forward. "I'm a doctor. Can I assist?" Marie looked up and nodded gratefully. "Thank you." Please. The doctor knelt beside her and examined the man. After a few moments, he looked at Marie, visibly impressed. You've done everything right so far. He's lucky to have someone so well trained on board. The weight of his words was not lost on the group. Their eyes darted between Marie and their unconscious friend, the realization dawning that the flight attendant they had mocked might have just saved his life. As the doctor and Marie worked together to stabilize the passenger, the rest of the cabin fell silent. The air, once filled with tension, now carried a sense of respect and admiration for the professionalism on display. Eventually, the man's condition stabilized. He was still pale but breathing steadily, his head supported by pillows Marie had carefully arranged. One of his friends, his voice trembling, approached her.
"Thank you," he said.
The arrogance from earlier was gone, replaced by humility. "I don't know what we would have done without you." Marie gave a small nod, her expression soft but composed. This revision refines the pacing and makes the prose more vivid and engaging. Let me know if you'd like further adjustments. It's my responsibility to ensure the safety of every passenger, Marie reminded herself. As she stood and adjusted her uniform, her eyes met those of another passenger who had witnessed the entire scene. The man gave her a subtle thumbs up, and she responded with a faint smile. Little did the passengers know, the day's surprises weren't over yet. As the flight continued, the tension from the earlier incident began to ease. The once arrogant group of passengers sat quietly now, their earlier bravado replaced with gratitude, and perhaps a touch of embarrassment. The man who had collapsed was stable, thanks to Marie and the doctor, and the rest of the crew worked diligently to maintain a calm atmosphere. Marie returned to the galley to check on her team and collect her thoughts. Adjusting her blazer, she took a deep breath, reflecting on how moments like these defined her career. The adrenaline was fading, but she maintained her composure. Before she could resume her rounds, a junior attendant approached hesitantly. "Ma'am, Marie," she whispered, "one of the passengers asked for you specifically. They're inquiring about your position." Marie arched an eyebrow but nodded. "Let me handle it," she said, stepping out into the cabin. In business class, the group of wealthy passengers had gathered around their friend's seat, still visibly shaken. One of them, a man with a solemn expression, stepped forward as Marie approached. "I wanted to thank you personally," he began, his voice quiet but earnest. We didn't treat you with the respect you deserve earlier, and I'm sorry for that." Marie's expression softened, but she remained professional. "I appreciate that," she replied. "My priority is ensuring everyone's safety and well-being. I'm glad he's stable now." The man hesitated, glancing back at his recovering friend before turning back to her. "You went above and beyond. Honestly, we owe you, and I don't just mean my friend's life. I think we all learned something today." The sincerity in his voice was undeniable. Marie gave a small nod, her calm demeanor unwavering. "I'm just doing my job," she said, though the weight of his words lingered. As she turned to leave, the man added, "For what it's worth, you've got my respect. And if there's anything we can do to make up for earlier, just let us know." Marie paused and looked back at him, her faint smile carrying a mix of understanding and grace. "Just take care of each other," she said simply.